Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something huge, something that affects all of us: longevity.
It really does. It's a universal concern, isn't it?
Totally. So we've gathered some fascinating insights, especially from a recent book that's been making waves. And our mission, like always, is to pull out the key stuff.
Yeah, they're really actionable nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. We want you to understand what matters most right now for living longer, healthier lives and, how you can actually apply it starting today.
It's definitely a topic that hits home. One of the authors we looked at gets just flooded with messages, people from all over the world.
It's incredible, the desperation sometimes. People asking things like, what pills should I take? Or can you get me into a trial? I even read about someone asking about their kid's hamster.
Right, a hamster. But behind that, there are these really poignant stories.
Oh, absolutely. Like the man donating to research because his mother suffered so much from an age-related illness. He just didn't want others to go through that.
Or the woman offering everything she had, just for a chance her father with Alzheimer's could be in a study. It's heartbreaking.
It really highlights this deep human desire to fight against aging, doesn't it?
It does. And it points to a gap, really. Most doctors, even today, haven't really grappled with why we age, let alone how to treat aging itself.
So, okay, what's the upshot for us listening right now? The big message, and this is really hopeful, is that even though some fancy therapies might be years away, the author insists, quote, even without access to this developing technology, no matter who you are, where you live, how old you are, and how much you earn, you can engage your longevity genes starting right now.
That's powerful. It puts the control back in our hands, doesn't it?
It really does. And that leads us straight into our first big idea, thinking about aging differently. Not as something inevitable, like gravity, but more like a condition we can actually influence, maybe even treat.
Exactly. It's a mindset shift. Think about, say, 1900. Back then, things like pneumonia, flu, TB, stomach bugs, they caused maybe half of all deaths in the U.S.
Wow, half.
Yeah. And people just sort of accepted it. That was just life. But now, deaths from those are, thankfully, pretty rare.
Because of medicine, information, technology.
Right. We learned, we adapted, we developed treatments. The point is, we don't have to just accept aging like we used to accept those diseases either.
Okay, so if we don't just accept it, where do we look for clues now? Our sources point towards places where people are already living these incredibly long, healthy lives.
You mean like the blue zones?
Exactly. Places like Okinawa, Sardinia, Nicoya, and Costa Rica. Dan Buettner's work really highlighted these hotspots.
And what's interesting is that when researchers studied these zones, a lot of the focus landed on diet. They tried to figure out the common threads in these, quote, longevity diets.
And what did they find? What's the common ground?
Well, it boils down to some pretty familiar advice, actually, basically. More vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, while consuming less meat, dairy products, and sugar.
Okay. That does sound like stuff we've heard. And I know nutrition is like the Wild West sometimes, with everyone disagreeing.
Oh, absolutely.
But that basic framework, more plants, less meat and sugar, that seems like a solid starting point, doesn't it?
It really does. The common themes are more veggies, less meat, more fresh food, less processed stuff. We kind of know this, right? The trick, of course, is actually doing it.
Right. The application. And speaking of application, the author, after all this research, boils down the single most impactful piece of advice for longevity right now to just 2 words: eat less.
Yeah, eat less. It sounds simple, almost ancient. And it is, really. Hippocrates talked about it. Even Christian monks back in the 4th century, like Evagrius Ponticus, advocated for intentional moderation.
It's not about starving, though, is it? That's a key point.
Crucial distinction. It's explicitly not malnutrition, not starvation. It's about, as the author puts it, allowing our bodies to exist in a state of want, a mild state of want, not deprivation, but just not being constantly full, constantly processing energy.
Okay, that state of want. And there's some amazing historical examples, right? Like that Venetian nobleman.
Oh, Luigi Cornaro, yes, 15th century. Apparently lived a pretty wild youth, then completely changed his ways, limiting himself to about 12 ounces of food and a couple of glasses of wine a day.
12 ounces? That's tiny.
It is. And he wrote about it in his 80s in his discourse on the temperate life. He said he made it a habit, never fully satisfying my appetite, always leaving the table well able to take more. And he lived to be nearly 100.
Incredible. So this idea has legs historically. What about the modern science?
Well, the science really started taking off around World War I, kind of accidentally. Researchers noticed rats with less food available lived longer. Then in the 1930s, Clive McKay at Cornell did more formal studies showing calorie-restricted rats live significantly longer. Since then, I mean, hundreds of studies.
Mm.
Yeast, flies, worms, rodents, monkeys.
Yeah.
The results are remarkably consistent.
Calorie restriction, or CR, extends lifespan across the board, basically.
Pretty much, as long as it's CR without malnutrition. And the fascinating part is why. It seems to trigger this ancient survival program in our cells. It involves things called sirtuins.
Sirtuins. Okay, what do they do?
Think of them like a cellular repair and defense crew. When the body senses a mild want or stress, like from CR, these sirtuins get activated. They boost defenses, repair DNA, reduce inflammation. Basically, they slow down the aging process at a fundamental level.
Wow. Okay, so that works in flies and mice. What about us, humans? Sounds hard to study.
It is hard. Long-term controlled human CR studies are tough.
Yeah.
But we have clues. There's that 1978 study in Okinawa, famous for its centenarians.
Right, the blue zone.
Yeah. Kagawa found Okinawan kids ate about 2/3 the calories of mainland Japanese kids, and adults ate about 20% less.
Mm-hmm.
And they had much longer health spans, less disease.
Okay, that's compelling observational data. Any experiments?
Well, there was the Biosphere 2 project back in the 90s. Remember that? 8 people sealed inside for 2 years.
Vaguely, yeah. The dome thing.
Right. Their crops didn't grow as well as planned, so they ended up on an accidental calorie-restricted diet. And biochemically, they started looking remarkably like the long-lived CR animals: lower blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, weight loss.
Accidental science. And what about planned trials?
They're happening, but adherence is tricky. A Duke University study tried for 25% calorie restriction. People only managed about 12% on average.
Still even 12%. Did it help?
It did. Even that modest reduction showed significant improvement in health and a slowdown in biological aging. So even a little bit seems to matter.
Okay. But the real heavy hitters seem to be the monkey studies.
Oh, absolutely stunning results there. These studies started back in the 80s with rhesus monkeys. Their maximum known lifespan was 40 years.
Okay.
In the CR group, 6 monkeys reached that 40-year mark. That's like humans living to 120.
Whoa, 6 of them.
6. And what's really encouraging is that the benefits kicked in even for monkeys that started CR in middle age.
So it's maybe never too late to start, or at least later is better than never.
Exactly. It seems hard to age out of the benefits, but the thinking is it's probably better to start earlier if you can, maybe after age 40 or so.
Okay, CR is powerful. But let's be real, counting every calorie, always feeling a bit hungry. One researcher called it a bonkers diet. The author himself admits it's tough.
It requires immense discipline, no doubt. For many people, it's just a non-starter.
So what's the alternative? How do we get those sirtuins working, get those benefits without that constant restriction?
That's where intermittent fasting, or IF, comes in. It's gained a lot of traction.
Right, IF. So not eating less overall necessarily, but eating in shorter windows.
Exactly. Eating normal portions of food, but with periodic episodes without meals. And again, it's not brand new. Researchers back in the 40s found rats that fasted every 3rd day lived longer.
Huh. Did they fast themselves?
One of them, Frederick Holzel, apparently did all sorts of weird self-experiments, like swallowing gravel and glass beads. But yes, the principle held.
Okay, maybe let's not swallow gravel. What about modern human IF studies?
They're showing real promise.
Yeah.
Things like fasting mimicking diets, where you drastically cut calories for just 5 days a month, lead to weight loss, less body fat, lower blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. And crucially,
lower levels of something called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1.
IGF-1. Why is that important?
Because lower IGF-1 levels are consistently linked to longevity across many species, including potentially humans. Some researchers think it's a pretty good predictor of lifespan.
Interesting. So by cycling periods of eating and not eating, we get some of those same signals as constant CR, like lower IGF-1.
That seems to be the idea. You're triggering those same beneficial stress responses just periodically instead of constantly.
Okay, but what about genetics? Are some people just lucky, born with genes that keep them lean or make them live to 100 smoking cigars?
Well, yes, there's definitely a genetic component. Some centenarians are clearly winners in the genetic lottery. They might have gene variants that naturally keep them in a kind of fasted state, metabolically speaking, no matter what they eat.
Ah, like that smoking centenarian who outlived all her doctors.
Exactly, a classic anecdote. But here's the really hopeful part for the rest of us. Our epigenome.
The epigenome. That's like the software that runs our genetic hardware.
Sort of, yeah. It controls which genes are turned on or off. And the amazing thing is, the epigenome is malleable. It responds to our lifestyle.
So even if we didn't win the genetic lottery,
We can still influence how our genes behave through how we live.
Yeah.
We can actively engage those longevity genes. Our choices matter.
And we see this playing out in cultures too, right? Places known for longevity often have fasting traditions.
Absolutely. Look at Ikaria in Greece, the island where people forget to die. Many follow Greek Orthodox traditions, which involve fasting for large parts of the year. No meat, dairy, eggs, sometimes limiting oil and wine.
Wow, more than half the year.
Often, yes, in some form. Or look at Bama County in China, another longevity hotspot. Many centenarians there traditionally skip breakfast, eat their first meal around noon. That's naturally a 16-plus hour fasting window every day.
So for someone listening now thinking, okay, maybe I could try this IF thing, what are some popular ways to do it?
There are lots of patterns. The 16.8 method is common. Basically, skip breakfast, eat lunch and dinner within an 8-hour window.
16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating.
Right. Or the 5.2 diet.
Mm-hmm.
Eat normally 5 days a week, then cut calories way down, maybe 75% less, on 2 non-consecutive days.
Okay.
There's eat, stop, eat, which involves a full 24-hour fast once or twice a week. Some people, like Peter Attia, do longer fasts, like a week, once a quarter.
So lots of options. The main idea is just periodic breaks from eating.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The consensus seems to be that almost any periodic fasting diet that does not result in malnutrition is likely to put your longevity genes to work in ways that will result in a longer, healthier life.
Plus, it saves money on breakfast.
There is that practical benefit too.
Though, as the author notes, even RF can feel like a huge hurdle for some people. It's still a big change.
True. It requires shifting habits.
Okay, so we've covered when and how much we eat. But what about what we eat? Specifically, proteins and their building blocks, amino acids. This seems just as crucial.
It really is. Amino acids are essential, obviously. They build everything. Meat is packed with them, offers easy energy.
Oh, there's a big... The paradox. Meat is murder on our bodies. Tell us more.
Well, the data linking high intake of animal protein, especially red and processed meats, to things like cardiovascular disease and certain cancers is pretty strong.
Things like hot dogs, bacon, sausage.
Yeah, the stuff that tastes amazing but is labeled ingloriously carcinogenic, links to colorectal, pancreatic, prostate cancer. Plus, red meat contains carnitine. Our gut bacteria turn that into something called TMAO.
TMAO.
Trimethylamine N-oxide. And it's strongly suspected to contribute to heart disease.
Okay, so less red and processed meat seems wise for longevity. Not necessarily zero, maybe, thinking about our ancestors?
Right. A little probably isn't catastrophic, but the suggestion is, for optimal longevity, aim for a diet that's more like a rabbit's lunch than a lion's dinner.
A rabbit's lunch. I like that. So focus on plant proteins.
Exactly. And here's the interesting part. Plant sources can provide all the essential amino acids,
Yeah.
but they usually have them in lower concentrations per serving compared to meat.
And that's actually good.
From a longevity perspective, yes.
Yeah.
Because a body that's slightly short on amino acids now and then experiences that same kind of beneficial stress we talked about with CR and IF. It engages the survival circuits.
So it's another way to send that times are slightly tough, activate defenses signal.
Precisely. And this ties into a key pathway called mTOR.
mTOR, right. We mentioned that briefly. What does limiting amino acids do to mTOR?
So mTOR is like a sensor for nutrient abundance, especially amino acids. When levels are high, mTOR is active, telling cells to grow and divide. But when you limit amino acids, you inhibit mTOR.
You turn it down.
You turn it down. And when mTOR is less active, cells shift focus. Less energy on division, more on maintenance and repair, specifically a process called autophagy.
Autophagy, the cellular cleanup crew, getting rid of damaged parts.
Exactly. It's like cellular housekeeping, clearing out junk. And inhibiting mTOR, which you can do simply by limiting your intake of meat and dairy, seems to promote this beneficial state.
Are there specific amino acids we should be most mindful of limiting?
Yes, research points to a few. Methionine is one. It's high in meat, poultry, eggs, lower in plants. Restricting methionine in mice turns on defenses, protects organs, increases healthy lifespan. It even caused obese mice to shed a ton of fat really quickly.
Wow. Any others?
The branched-chain amino acids BCAAs. That's leucine, isoleucine, and valine. They're known to activate mTOR. Lower levels correlate with longer lifespan, and reducing intake improves metabolic health markers in people.
So we need them, but maybe not in the high amounts many people get, especially from meat and maybe protein shakes?
Exactly. We can't live without them, but most of us can definitely stand to get less of them. Those BCAA-rich protein shakes might be great for muscle building after a workout because leucine boosts that.
Yeah.
But they also fire up mTOR, potentially canceling out some longevity benefits you might get from the exercise itself. It's a trade-off. So even good animal proteins like chicken, fish, eggs, maybe limit them unless you really need them for recovery.
Okay, that helps explain why vegetarians often show lower rates of heart disease and cancer. It's the amino acid profile, MTO inhibition, plus maybe lower calories and more plant compounds.
That seems to be a big part of the picture, yes.
But diet alone, even a perfect plant-based, low amino acid diet, it's not the whole story for maximizing lifespan, is it?
No. The author is clear. Even with the best diet, if we don't also induce some physical adversity, those longevity genes will remain tragically underutilized.
Which brings us to, do sweat it? Exercise? We all know it's good for us, but why exactly beyond the obvious heart and muscle stuff?
Right. It's more than just better blood flow. The real magic, again, seems to happen at a much smaller scale, the cellular scale.
Okay, cellular scale. You mentioned telomeres earlier.
Yes. This is fascinating. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes, and they tend to shorten as we age. But studies show people who exercise regularly have longer telomeres.
How much longer?
Some research suggests jogging, say 30 minutes 5 times a week, could result in telomeres looking nearly a decade younger biologically.
A decade younger just from jogging. How?
It ties into this concept of hormesis, again, beneficial stress. Exercise is a stressor. It temporarily raises things like NAD levels. It activates the survival network, AMTK, mTOR, sirtuins all get involved. It boosts energy production, grows new capillaries, improves heart and lung function.
And the sirtuins, they help the telomeres.
Yes, SORD1 and SORD6 seem to play roles in protecting and maybe even lengthening telomeres in response to the stress of exercise. It's like exercise gently pokes the system, waking up all these protective mechanisms.
Okay, so how much exercise do we need for this beneficial poke? Do we have to run marathons?
Thankfully, no. The research here is actually really encouraging. Studies show even moderate amounts make a big difference, something like 4 to 5 miles a week of running or walking.
That's less than 15 minutes a day for most people.
Exactly. And that small amount was linked to a 40% lower risk of death from heart attack, 45% lower risk of all-cause mortality. Even just 10 minutes of moderate activity a day added years to life in some studies.
10 minutes? That's incredibly accessible. But does intensity matter?
It seems to, yes.
Yeah.
While any movement is good, high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, appears to engage the greatest number of these health-promoting genes. And this effect is particularly strong in older adults.
HIIT, so short bursts of really intense effort.
Right, getting your heart rate up, breathing hard, sweating, maybe unable to talk much. That feeling signifies you're hitting that sweet spot of beneficial stress, the hypoxic response, without actually causing harm.
So you're tricking your body into thinking it's facing a challenge, and it responds by getting stronger and more resilient at the cellular level.
You got it. Exercise literally turns on the genes to make us young again at a cellular level. It boosts mitochondria, grows new microvessels. It's rejuvenation from the inside out.
And combining this with fasting.
Absolutely. The author's clear. Would a combination of fasting and exercise lengthen your lifespan? Absolutely. They work better together.
Okay, eat less, eat better, move more. What's next? This one's a bit surprising. Temperature stress, cold fronts, and hot spells.
Yeah, this one catches people off guard. The author even mentions regretting not embracing the cold more when he moved from warm Australia to chilly Boston.
Why embrace the cold?
Because exposing your body to less than comfortable temperatures is another very effective way to turn on your longevity genes.
How? What happens when we get cold?
Our body shifts out of its comfort zone, the thermoneutral zone, breathing changes, blood flow reroutes, heart rate adjusts. These are ancient survival responses kicking in, linked to those same longevity pathways. And interestingly, calorie restriction also tends to lower core body temperature slightly.
Connection there. What's the specific mechanism with cold? Is it just shivering?
Shivering helps, but a key player seems to be brown adipose tissue or brown fat.
Brown fat? I thought only babies had that.
We used to think that, but adults retain some, especially around the neck and shoulders. And unlike regular white fat that stores energy, brown fat is packed with mitochondria, and its job is to burn energy to generate heat.
So it's metabolically active fat?
Highly active. Long-lived dwarf mice have more of it. Cold exposure activates brown fat, increases agoutin-3 activity, and this is linked to better metabolic health, reduced risk of diabetes, obesity, maybe even Alzheimer's. Studies on mice engineered to be slightly cooler showed they live significantly longer.
Fascinating. But trying to replicate that chemically, didn't that end badly?
Oh, very badly. You're thinking of DNP, 2 and 4-dinitrophenol. It was used for weight loss in the 1930s because it uncouples energy production, making cells burn fuel as heat. But it was extremely dangerous, caused overheating, blindness, deaths, and was rightly banned. We want natural activation, not dangerous chemical shortcuts.
Right. So what are safe ways to get a little cold stress and activate that brown fat?
Simple things, really. A brisk walk in a t-shirt on a winter day. Exercising in the cold that really turbocharges brown fat. Maybe sleeping with a window cracked open or using a lighter blanket.
No need for ice baths necessarily, though cryotherapy is trendy.
Cryotherapy research is still emerging. The author tried it, felt invigorated, but the long-term data isn't quite there yet. The key is mild, manageable cold exposure. Hypothermia is not good, obviously, but goosebumps, shivering a bit, that's generally safe and likely beneficial. Starting younger might be better, but moderation is key.
Okay, cold makes sense. What about the other extreme? Heat? Saunas.
The evidence is maybe less direct than cold, but still intriguing. Yeast studies showed a moderate temperature increase actually extended their lifespan by 30%, working through the same NAD and sirtuin pathways as CR.
Yeast aren't people, though. We regulate our temperature.
True, we can't just raise our core temp easily. But temporary exposure, like in a sauna, might offer benefits. The author mentions his wife loves them. And studies, especially from Finland, where sauna use is common, are compelling.
What did the Finnish studies find?
One long-term study followed over 2,300 men for 20-plus years. Those who use saunas frequently, like 4 to 7 times a week, had roughly half the rate of fatal heart disease and all-cause mortality compared to infrequent users.
Half? That's huge. Any idea why?
The exact mechanism isn't pinned down, but hypotheses involve improved cardiovascular function, maybe activation of heat shock proteins, or possibly influencing NAD recycling pathways. The bottom line seems to be, it does us little good to spend our entire lives in the thermoneutral zone.
Okay, so embracing a bit of temperature stress, hot or cold, seems beneficial. All these strategies, diet, exercise, temperature, and they involve mild beneficial stress. But there's a line, right? We need to avoid actual damage.
Absolutely crucial distinction. Beneficial adversity activates repair. But overwhelming damage forces those repair crews, like the sirtuins, to constantly put out fires. They get pulled away from their normal longevity-promoting duties, epigenetic signals get scrambled, and aging accelerates. We need to avoid rocking the landscape too much.
So what are the big sources of that harmful, DNA-damaging stress we should try to minimize?
Smoking is number one. It's just a deadly concoction of chemicals that cause DNA breaks. Smokers seem to age faster.
Yeah.
They do age faster, partly because their repair systems are chronically overworked.
And secondhand smoke, too.
Definitely. Shockingly high levels of damaging chemicals, sometimes 50 to 60 times as high as in firsthand smoke.
Wow. What else? Chemicals.
Yeah, environmental chemicals, things like PCBs and some plastics, good reason to avoid microwaving plastic. Azo dyes used in inks, fireworks. Organohalides found in solvents, pesticides. Also, N-nitroso compounds formed in some foods treated with nitrites, like certain beers and cured meats, especially cooked bacon. These are potent carcinogens causing DNA breaks.
And radiation is a big one, too, isn't it?
Yes. UV radiation from the sun, obviously. Radical X-rays, though benefits usually outweigh risks. Gamma rays. And radon gas, naturally occurring in some areas, is the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking.
I read the author even avoids airport scanners sometimes, just being cautious about cumulative exposure and potential epigenetic effects, even if the dose per scan is low.
It's a personal calculation of risk.
Right.
The reality is, we can't avoid all DNA damage. Our own cells make mistakes during replication, trillions of them throughout your body every day.
Plus, unavoidable natural radiation, contaminants like mercury in fish.
So damage is happening constantly, no matter what.
No matter how old you are, it's already happening to you. But that doesn't mean we throw up our hands. The goal is to minimize the excessive avoidable damage and support our body's amazing inherent repair systems through these lifestyle choices we've discussed. The message is still fundamentally hopeful. Okay, let's bring it all together then. The core actionable steps we've pulled out today are: eat less, to be through calorie restriction or intermittent fasting. Eat better, focusing on plants, limiting troublesome amino acids from meat and dairy. Move more, incorporating regular exercise, especially some intensity. And strategically embrace temperature stress, hot or cold, while also, crucially, being mindful to avoid unnecessary DNA damage from things like smoking and certain chemicals.
That sums it up nicely. These are things most people can start implementing to some degree right now.
Powerful tools to engage those longevity genes yourself. But that brings up a final thought posed by the author. Is it too late for those who are already frail and cannot restrict their calories, go for a run, or make snow angels in the dead of winter?
And the answer given is a hopeful not at all.
Right. Which suggests that for everyone, especially those already facing age-related challenges, to live longer and healthier, well, we might need some additional help.
Beyond lifestyle adjustments.
Exactly. And that perfectly sets up our next deep dive, where we'll explore the really exciting frontiers, the emerging medical therapies and technologies aimed directly at tackling aging.
It's a fascinating area. Really looking forward to that conversation.
Me too. So thanks everyone for joining us for this deep dive into lifestyle strategies for longevity. Stay tuned for our next exploration into the future of aging well.